Hey, thanks very much. 30 minutes past the hour. It is a pleasure to welcome back to Hurley in the Morning, because we've known each other for a number of years, our former United States Senator, our former New Jersey Attorney General. Jeff Chiesa, Esquire, was appointed by Governor Christie to be the Chief Executive Officer for the state of New Jersey's takeover of Atlantic City. This is a position which possesses just extraordinary power, and I use that word, humbly, and it affords Jeff the absolute oversight authority for up to 5 years. Jeff can literally dissolve employee collective bargaining agreements. He can sell or lease city assets. He can veto all city council, city board meeting minutes, and there's so many more things that the CEO has the authority to do. I've known Jeff for years, and right up front, I want to assure the citizens of Atlantic City that as far as state takeovers go, you hit the lottery in having Jeff Chiesa as your state government-appointed chief executive officer. Believe me when I tell you that, and happy to present Jeff now. Good morning, sir.
Harry.
How are you?
Good morning, Harry. Thanks so much for those very kind words. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Good to be with you, sir. How did all this come about, your selection as the new CEO of Atlantic City?
I got contacted, 10 days or so ago by the commissioner at DCA and Tim Cunningham, the director, and members of the governor's office, and we had a meeting to see if we thought it might make sense. I talked about it with the folks at my firm where I work, and I thought it was an excellent opportunity to do some additional public service in a private capacity. I remain at my law firm, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity to work in a place where I'd spent a lot of time when I was Attorney General and when I worked as the governor's chief counsel, trying to solve some of the real problems that are going on in Atlantic City.
How does it feel for you that you have the confidence of Governor Christie because he has selected you and you were confirmed to be our Attorney General? You were selected by Governor Christie to be the United States Senator for New Jersey, and now in this crucial role. How does that feel for you?
Listen, it's an amazing feeling. I couldn't be prouder to have had the chances I've had to work with the governor. He's been an extraordinary leader for our state, and we have had a wonderful working relationship for many years. Going back to when I first came out of my clerkship in 1991, I met him actually at a job interview. And at every point in our relationship, I've been so impressed with his intelligence, with his judgment, and with his commitment to anything that he's doing. I've never seen anybody work as hard as he does. And I think he inspires everybody around him to work that hard as well.
Jeff, I know you're already working hard on the job. I have evidence of it because I know people that you've been meeting with, and I personally spoke with you on your first day on the job, and you were still working that evening late in the 8 o'clock hour. How are things going in the early days of this new partnership?
They're going very well. On the first day I was down in Atlantic City, I met with the mayor and I met with the council president. I met with some of the other folks over in both gaming enforcement and at the Department of Community Affairs to get and gather information so that we have as much information as we can as we go about making these decisions. I met with members of the mayor's staff as well, and we look forward to working very closely with them. We all understand that there are significant financial issues confronting the city, and I know that everybody and folks that are giving their public lives to solving those problems have sincere interest in solving them, and I look forward to working with them. I told both the mayor and the council president, and I'll tell others because I'll be down again for the day tomorrow to meet with folks in Atlantic City, the same thing, that we want to work together. But what we can't do is take a hands-off-the-wheel approach where we continue to put the city in a position where it simply can't afford the decisions that are being made. And so those are the things that we've got to tackle. Those are the issues that we have to confront. And I'm confident with the level of cooperation and support we're getting and will continue to get that we'll be able to come up with solutions that make sense.
Hey, Jeff, you're no stranger to Atlantic City, so it's not like the first time you've ever seen Atlantic City, but it is now seeing Atlantic City looking through a different lens because of your position now, in government and as the CEO of the city. What is your initial impression as you look at Atlantic City in your new role?
Listen, it's an extraordinary spot. Everybody should never forget, and I think it gets lost a little bit in the way it gets covered sometimes. It's one of the rare places in the world that combines the oceanfront community with the gaming opportunities and with some really wonderful destinations and restaurants. And so it's a jewel in New Jersey and always has been. It has been impacted without question by the fact that other states have created casinos and opportunities to gamble that are far less beautiful and far less attractive than the ones that are in Atlantic City, but that's impacted the market there. I think that there's no question that that's had an impact, and that drives some of the decisions that the city confronts now. When you look at the rateable bases and you look at the casino revenues, that looks like there's no question that those things have to be accounted for. And so now what we have to do is to try to highlight the great things that are available there. And as I said, when you're down in Atlantic City, you're on the ocean. And there are very few places in the world that you can say that where you have those combination of assets. So I've always known that. When I was Attorney General, we worked hard on the Clean and Safe initiative to try to give the Atlantic City the best chance possible. The governor, people shouldn't forget, a month into his administration, I think it was February of 2010, created the commission led by John Hanson that has been working nonstop to solve the issues in Atlantic City. So this governor has been committed from the start. He recognized the problems that were confronting the city because of the increased competition by out-of-state casinos, and he continues that commitment by doing what he's doing, working with the Senate president, working with other leaders, the speaker and others, to make sure that we give the city the best chance to thrive and to flourish going forward.
We're at 37 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Jeff Chiesa, Esquire, former United States Senator, former New Jersey Attorney General, and the present Chief Executive Officer of the City of Atlantic City. I mentioned in my preamble to introducing you, Jeff, that nobody wants a state takeover. It's the last thing you want. Everybody wants total self-governance, and nobody would ask for it in their right mind. But I've mentioned that if you're going to have a state takeover, that to me, and I've known you for long enough that I make this, comment freely, and I make it, from a wide spectrum of observation, that I believe, in you, and I believe what I'm saying, that if you're going to get a guy that is your CEO that you rather not have, but you have no choice and you're going to have him, that Atlantic City won the lottery, because you are a fair-minded person, you are good to work with, and you're honest, and you bring all the skill sets that a partner would want, in a working partner, whether they've asked for that working partner or not. Have you given weight, decision or thought rather to the weight of the amount of authority that you have in this situation?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for those kind thoughts, Harry. You do, and I think you want to exercise it judiciously, so that every decision that you make, you want to try to do it in as cooperative a fashion as you can. And the folks in Atlantic City, for example, should know that the mayor and the council folks are going to continue to they're democratically elected people, they're the representatives of people that live in the city. We're going to continue to work with them as much as we can. And they will continue to carry out their day-to-day responsibilities for the city. We will, in our role, simply make sure that when we come up with a plan, that we're addressing long-term structural financial issues. And I think the reason that the statute is designed as it is because those issues are significant and profound, and they need to be addressed in a way that's going to allow somebody to make, in some instances, which will be difficult decisions. And I think that's why the leaders that put that statute through did it the way they did it. I don't think you should ever forget, I'm a temporary trustee here, and it's my responsibility not to exert power unnecessarily, but to simply make decisions that I think are in the city's best interest.
Let me ask you this one, because, I'm sure people would love to hear it from you to the extent that because obviously this is just getting going, but what are your early points of focus in Atlantic City?
Well, the early points of focus are first to have had a chance to meet with some of the leaders so that they know me. These are not folks that I've worked with closely in the past, but I can tell from our initial meetings with the mayor and the council president, I'm sure with others, that'll include the county executive soon as well, that will develop a good relationship. I've always been able to work with folks irrespective of their party affiliations, and I think everybody down there has the same goal, which is for the city to be in the best position. It is early, Harry, so we're addressing and identifying the things that are most important. But those things will focus on creating structural, or rather relieving the structural financial issues that are confronting the city, the obstacles that create and will continue to create hardships for the city if they're not addressed. And so those are the way we're going to prioritize those things. And again, working with a team of professionals that have been working on these issues for a long time down there in the Department of Community Affairs. And I can't say enough good things about the commissioner and his team and Tim Cunningham. These are true pros. These are folks that really have identified, and in my meetings with them, have shown a tremendous insight into these problems and tremendous organization. They've been working hard for a long time. I'm new to this process, so I don't want anyone to think that I don't have great respect and real admiration for the folks that have done a lot of that work already. And hopefully I'll build on that work, working with the commissioner, working with other folks, Tim Cunningham and others down there to solve those problems. But we're in the process now of prioritizing those things and making sure that we have complete and full information before we start to execute any of the decisions.
You're listening to Jeff Chiesa, the Chief Executive Officer for the City of Atlantic City, in the model of the official state takeover legislation that is in place. This position could last for up to the next 5 years. And again, Atlantic City, trust me when I tell you, those that are listening that believe in me, you've got a good man in here. Give him a chance. And what I am saying about him in advance of his work in Atlantic City will prove to be true because it always is. And everything that Jeff endeavors, whether it is his law firm that, he's on the masthead, or his service as Attorney General or as United States Senator, everything he does well, he does thorough, and he does with great, humbleness and also great integrity and honesty. So you really did. You'll remember I've said that because I think I'll be saying it a lot. You really did hit the lottery in Jeff. He's approachable. He's reasonable. And I always say, but never mistake kindness and goodness for weakness, because he's a tough guy as well. And he's not afraid to make tough decisions. I've seen him do it. Jeff, in terms of the power that this legislation grants you, you could really limit the role of mayor and city council. I've studied a lot of state takeovers around the country. Some people in your position come in, they drop the hammer, they make the mayor, the city council potted plants. They just really make it very, very almost meaningless to be an elected official. I'm not going to say more than I know, because I don't know the answer to this, is why I'm going to ask you. But what is your philosophy coming in terms of the role of the mayor and city council, who you could really limit their role? What do you see their role going forward?
As I said earlier, Harry, I want to make sure that in terms of the day-to-day functions, that they continue to carry out those functions. They are the elected representatives of the people that live in that city, and that's important not to forget. And I said this to the mayor, and I said it to the council president when we met, and I'll say it to other leaders. I want to work together. I want to try to find solutions that make sense, and I want to include their input in that process. Ultimately, as you know, the statute does give me the authority to make final decisions. I don't think it's in the city's interest for anybody to believe or to watch one person come in from the outside and dismiss or ignore people that have given their lives to representing and have been elected to represent the people that live in that city. That being said, where there are disagreements, ultimately, I'll have to make the decision that I think is best for the city. But I hope, and I'm very encouraged by my first encounters with both the mayor and the council president, that we'll be able to do things together. We'll be able to do things that make sense. We may not agree on every decision, but I know that we agree that we're all interested in what's best for the city of Atlantic City.
Hey, Jeff, how about, I think a lot of people thinking, Jeff Chiesa, CEO for the city of Atlantic City, focusing on the city purpose tax side. Will you also be doing, every bit as much on the school purpose tax side of the equation within Atlantic City government, the Board of Education? Obviously in most municipalities, there are more tax dollars spent on the Board of Education than there is on city purpose tax side. So are you involved the entire city purpose tax side and school purpose tax side?
Well, the Department of Education has had a big role on the education side. I think all of the decisions are going to be interrelated. Obviously, these financial decisions will affect in all different ways the way the city does business. So to the extent those decisions are interrelated, yes, and I'll be working with the professionals at the Department of Education as well to talk with them about the school issues. But my primary focus is addressing the city's financial issues and making sure that as we make those decisions, as I said, we start to clear the obstacles that are in the city's way.
Jeff, in terms of, I will just tell you right up front, and it's been the position on this program, even though, I consider Mayor Don Guardian a friend, and I saw that whole plan about selling the MUA to the MUA and them borrowing more money. It never made sense to me that you borrow your way out of debt, that you're $500+ million in debt and will go borrow more money to, fix our problem. To me, I just never thought that should have been considered as a serious plan, but it was, and it was in the official plan. Is the MUA buying itself a non-starter, a done deal as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, listen, I think that I don't want to, because this process is so new, but I would share, I don't want to get too far out in front, Howie, but I would say to you that sort of kicking the can down the road doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And I know that because when you confront the serious financial issues that the city's confronting, those things become different solutions are examined by people because there are limited options for them. But I think that an approach that simply creates problems that the city will have to address 10 or 20 years from now is not a solution that makes sense.
I know we've only got a few more minutes. Let me ask you, in terms of getting started and fixing and depending on who you believe, some say it's a lot more than $500 million. But obviously, even if we said that Atlantic City right now faces a structural imbalance of $500+ million, and that without state aid, they're in the hole $100 million every year, that of course that's completely unsustainable. How difficult is this challenge going to be in your estimation?
Listen, it's a very significant challenge. That being said, I know that the folks that I'm working with are creative people, they are committed people, and they've worked incredibly hard before I arrived on the scene. We go back to 2010. Again, I'll remind everybody that's listening that the governor has been at this nonstop, and I watched it from both when I was in the governor's office and when I was attorney general. I spent a tremendous amount of time down here, so I know the commitment that the governor has, that the commissioner has, and that the Hansen Commission has to seeing that this is done the right way. So I know I have the support of everybody that matters. I know the leaders in Atlantic City want this to be a success, but we shouldn't kid ourselves about the significant issues that confront the city. Now, we've been given the tools and we've been given the resources to do the job, so I'm confident that we can do it. But there are really difficult decisions that are going to have to be made going forward. We're
visiting with Jeff Chiesa. He is the Chief Executive Officer for the City of Atlantic City, your former United States Senator from New Jersey, your former Attorney General for the state of New Jersey, obviously a very close confidant of the governor, Christie. We had an extraordinary interview that not only went national, it went international this past Tuesday with what Governor Christie had to say about Atlantic City, about Jeff Chiesa, about the Trump presidency and maybe his role and all these different things that we cover. But one of the key parts of the interview was talking about Jeff and talking about his skill sets and why the governor selected Jeff for the position. Here's something I think we can absolutely agree on, and if we don't, you can stomp this out as just garbage, but I think it stands to reason, and I'm not – you do know this in my background because you were very kind a long time ago, and you did a video for me that was something I'll always cherish. So you do know about my banking industry. So I pay attention to a lot of things. I'm an operations guy. I was a finance guy, and now I'm in the media and a broadcaster, and I look at numbers. And I say, okay, let's say it's a $500 million problem that we have. You could come in and you could cut the entire government. You could cut no trash collection, no services whatsoever. You could cut everything, and you cannot cut your way out of a $500 million structural imbalance. Having said that, certainly prudent, reorganization, some things I'm sure, will take place. But you could not cut your way out of this if you cut everything, and that you can't do. and I know we'll agree on that point because you have to provide. Taxpayers are paying taxes and property taxes and school taxes, and expect a certain level of service, in their town, public safety and public works and so on. So, having said that, Jeff, this means that somehow we have to grow, we have to develop. I really believe with not only the defeat of that casino question, but the mandate that 80 to 20% that the state did not want it, that Atlantic City is very close to being righted as maybe an 7 to 8. I think 8 if the Taj reopens, casino town. So you have your pilot bill and legislation, so tax stability in terms of what the casinos will be contributed. Do you agree with me that development in Atlantic City, now that there's a lot of money that's been parked on the sidelines waiting to see if we were going to cannibalize our own leading industry, and those are my words, they don't have to be yours, and we were going to probably see the contraction of 4 more casinos had that happened, then I think development would have been, really shaky. But do you agree this is a combination of growing revenue, obviously the casinos continuing to perform and overperform as they're doing both with bricks and sticks and also with, the iGaming, but also inviting exciting development into Atlantic City that I think now that people will see that there's the potential for stability, and forgive the long question, but I'm passionate about this, as you know. Do you agree that this is a combination of tools, cuts, scalpel, hatchet, growing revenue, and so on and so forth?
Absolutely. So what has to happen in the end, first, to make sure that the city's in a spot so that the people that live there continue to enjoy quality of life, that's first rate. As that happens, and as you said, as the casino market stabilizes, as I said at the beginning, this is a rare place, oceanfront, beautiful oceanfront place. So as these things happen, you hope and expect that more resources and more businesses and more entertainment and more development will occur because of the unique nature of this location. So it's absolutely critical that be the other part of this. And you're absolutely right. As we take the steps that we're taking, we want the outside world, we want the money, private money, we want the entrepreneurs to say, I want to be a part of this. I see that they're correcting the situation that exists there in Atlantic City. It's time to invest dollars there. I've got an oceanfront community with centuries-long history of being a destination location and restoring that, because whether it's the great acts that go there, whether it's all the golf resorts that are in the area, this is a very unique place. It's time to remind people of that because it gets so beaten up sometimes in the media. Las Vegas is in the desert, right?
Yep.
It's been enormously successful. This is an oceanfront, a beautiful oceanfront location. And so we certainly want to make sure that the outside private dollars are watching what we're doing, are encouraged by what we're doing, and are enthused enough to come and start spending money there and developing and working with us in restoring the city.
Jeff, final question, and it's easy for me to say because this is very fortunate. I was so happy when I learned that Governor Christie had picked you, because you're not a stranger. You're not a stranger to me, so that's important to me, and I love Atlantic City. I was born in Atlantic City, as you know, and we talk about it a lot on our program every day. And so it was easy for me to tell everybody I knew, because once you were named, I got 1,000 phone calls. Harry, you know this guy. I said, yeah, I do know him, and you couldn't have done better. You're so fortunate. But that's me saying it. Let me give you the opportunity, Jeff Chiesa, to people that don't know you, that, oh my gosh, who's this guy? CEO of our town. What? Tell our listeners something about you in terms of how you handle your areas of responsibility, whatever they have been in your career, and now they are these duties.
Well, thanks, Harry. First of all, it's a tremendous honor and a very humbling experience to have any of the chances that I've had, because I never dreamed, for example, that I'd serve as my state's attorney general. I was born in New Jersey. I've lived my whole life in New Jersey. I'm raising my family in New Jersey, and so I'm very passionate about the state, as you are. And so what I have tried to do in my career, in whatever role that I've had, I've always tried to work with the folks that may have opposing viewpoints and may have different theories as to how we approach some of the problems. And so I think most of the folks that I've worked with would say that I always try to be open-minded, that I try to be fair, But I also know that I've been decisive, and as you noted earlier, the authority that's provided in the statute is really profound. That shouldn't scare anybody because it's done that way for a purpose. It wasn't done to give somebody the power that the folks that pass this legislation just to give them the power. It was done to solve a problem. So I don't look at this anything other than as a tool to solve the problem that exists in Atlantic City. As I said, I spent my first day meeting with the leaders down there. I'm going to continue to meet with leaders down there. That'll include tomorrow when I'll spend the day in Atlantic City again meeting with folks. And that'll also extend to community groups and people who are legitimately asking questions about what's going to happen with the place that they live, where they raise their families. Because certainly if someone were coming into the town that I live in and making this someone's going to take over my town, my concern would be for my wife and my children and what that meant for whatever part of our quality of life that was going to be impacted. So I look forward to working with everybody there, as I have, I think, throughout my career. Among the people I spoke with the night I was named was the Senate President and the Speaker, both of whom I consider to be friends. I think I enjoy generally the support of people on both sides of the aisle in the work that I've done. And I think that's important, not because you're going to try to please everybody, because you can't. But I think it's important because it gives you some credibility to address issues and not in a partisan way, but in a way you think that makes sense and is in the interest of everybody that you're trying to serve. But I will always be, I couldn't be prouder than to have the opportunities I've had to work with Governor Christie and his team. And I know that when I've worked with him, and every chance that he's given me the chance because he trusts me, and he's asking me to make decisions in whatever capacity that's been. And I say that the same thing about the commissioner and the great work that he's done, and about his team. And so I really look at this as a team approach. And I want everybody to know that I think it's critically important that we include as many voices as possible. But in the end, it is my responsibility to make the decisions, and I won't have any difficulty making those decisions. I just want to make sure, and I'm confident I will be able to make sure that we're doing it with full information. Final minute of the hour, I can squeeze this in, and I thank you for the opportunity to have this long-form interview, this wide-ranging conversation with Jeff Chiesa on Early in the Morning, WPG, the new CEO of Atlantic City. You know, this took years and a lot of bad decisions, just being honest here, truth in broadcasting, Early in the Morning style. A lot of bad decisions and many, many years to get more than $500 million into structural imbalance. Have you processed yet the magnitude of the lift that this will take to fix this? Yeah, I think it's. I know this is a significant endeavor. There's no question about that, and that's why I know I don't come in with my eyes closed, Harry. I recognize that the governor and the legislature in passing the statute is taking a step that's pretty extraordinary. I know they've given me the tools. I know I have their complete support. And I know that they trust my judgment. And knowing all those things, it's now up to me and the team that I'm working with to solve the problems. But I want the folks in Atlantic City to know how important this really humbling experience is for me to undertake, how proud I am, again, to work with the folks that I'm working with, especially Governor Christie. And that I'll use I'll work as hard as I can and make the best decisions that I can throughout the process, making sure that I listen to people that have real expertise. And there are so many people that I've already met that have demonstrated to me such a high level of expertise on these issues that I know that I'm going to be able to learn from and to talk with. But I don't ever forget that in the end, this is a project and a assignment that's going to affect the quality of lives of thousands of people who've called that place their home, some of them for their entire lives, for decades. And that is a very humbling thought, which keeps me focused and will keep our team focused throughout the process. Jeff Chiesa, thank you. I wish you just the best, because when you succeed, we will all succeed. As Atlantic City goes, so goes our region, and in fact, so goes the state.